Imagine getting sick 5,000 years ago. No hospitals. No pharmacies. No antibiotics. So how did people survive? There is a pharmacy older than every hospital, every laboratory, and every medical school on Earth. It has no walls. No shelves. No cash register. It is the forest. And for most of human history, it was all we had. To discover how ancient civilizations healed the sick, treated wounds, and built the foundations of modern medicine, we must travel back to a time before the pharmacy. Thousands upon thousands of years, when someone got sick, they did not drive to a clinic. There was no pill to swallow, no scan to run, no surgery booked for Tuesday morning. There was only nature. And the people who had learned, generation by generation, how to read it. What is extraordinary is not that they survived without modern medicine. What is extraordinary is how much they figured out. How they looked at a tree and saw aspirin. How they turned a beehive into a wound dressing. How they performed surgeries with tools made from stone and obsidian. Today we are going back. All the way back. To the Sumerians in Mesopotamia, to the physicians of ancient Egypt, to the sages of India, the healers of China, the philosophers of Greece. This is the history of how humanity healed before the pharmacy. And as you'll see, a lot of what they discovered, we are still using today. Let us start at the very beginning. Before writing. Before cities. Before any of it. When early humans roamed the earth, they were not wandering around completely blind to illness. Archaeological evidence suggests that our distant ancestors had an instinctive awareness of medicinal plants. Long before anyone wrote anything down, human beings were already accumulating medical knowledge. They were watching, testing, passing it on. When someone got a wound, they packed it with clay or ash. When someone ran a fever, they were placed near heat or submerged in cool water. When someone broke a bone, they splinted it with wood and bark, and the bone healed. The oldest act of medicine is not a drug or a device. It is one person deciding to take care of another. And then there were the shamans. In almost every prehistoric culture there is a figure who sits between the physical and the spiritual. A healer who combines ritual, plant medicine, and community care. Modern people tend to roll their eyes at shamanic healing. But here is the thing, shamans weren't just chanting. They were often the most knowledgeable people in the group about local plants. The ritual, the drumming, the ceremony, the social gathering had real physiological effects too. We now know that belief and expectation genuinely alter how the body responds to treatment. Shamans were working with that, intuitively, for tens of thousands of years. Before anyone put a name to it. Knowledge existed long before the explanation. The first healers laid the foundation. Around 5,000 years ago, in the fertile land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, something remarkable happened. People started writing things down. Among the oldest written records ever discovered are medical prescriptions. Clay tablets, pressed with a reed stylus, listing ingredients and instructions. The oldest one we know of lists 15 separate pharmaceutical formulas. Salt, thyme, myrtle, fig, willow, cassia. Administered in honey, beer, water, and wine. Let that sink in. The world's oldest surviving medical document contains willow bark. Willow bark, which contains salicin, the compound that would eventually become aspirin. The Sumerians were prescribing aspirin 4,000 years before it had a brand name. The Mesopotamians did not just collect plants and hope for the best. They had physicians. Two distinct types, actually. The Ashipu handled the spiritual side of healing. And the Asu was closer to what we would call a practical doctor. The Asu examined patients, documented symptoms, and prepared medicine. These were professionals. They had a code. The famous Code of Hammurabi included specific rules for physicians. If a doctor operated on a patient and the patient survived, he was paid. If the patient died, the consequences could be severe. It sounds brutal. But what it tells us is that surgery was already happening. Doctors were already cutting into people's bodies. And society had already decided this work required accountability. Mesopotamian healers also used salt water for gargling. Sour wine as a disinfectant. They developed laxatives from bran and herbs. They cataloged hundreds of medicinal plants. They built a functioning medical tradition. Medicine had become a profession. And the story was only beginning. If Mesopotamia gave us the world's first written prescriptions, ancient Egypt gave us something close to the world's first medical textbooks. The Nile flowed through one of the most advanced civilizations on Earth. The Ebers Papyrus was written around 1550 BCE. It is over 20 meters long. It contains more than 700 remedies for everything from skin disease to heart problems. Inside its pages, aloe vera for burns, garlic for infections, honey for wound care, myrrh for inflammation, and onion for circulatory health. These were not random guesses. Modern research has confirmed that many of them work. Honey is a powerful antimicrobial agent. Garlic contains allicin, a natural antibiotic. Aloe vera accelerates wound healing. The Egyptians did not know the chemistry. But they had thousands of years of observation. And then there was Imhotep. He served as chief physician to Pharaoh Djoser. He practiced surgery, prescribed remedies, and documented cases. He was so revered that later generations made him a god. The only physician in recorded history deified by his civilization. Egyptian physicians performed complex procedures. There is strong evidence of trepanation. Patients survived. Their skulls show signs of healing bone. Someone drilled into a human skull 4,000 years ago, in the Egyptian desert, and the patient lived. The mummification process also gave Egyptian physicians something priceless: intimate knowledge of human anatomy. When you spend generations studying internal organs, you learn a great deal. This anatomical knowledge fed directly into medical practice. There is a reason the ancient Greeks credited Egypt as the birthplace of medicine. When Hippocrates was trained, knowledge flowed from Egyptian and Mesopotamian traditions. Medicine was traveling along trade routes, carried by merchants, diplomats, and wandering scholars, from one great city to the next. Somewhere in northern India, around 600 BCE, a physician named Sushruta was teaching surgery. Not performing surgery occasionally, teaching it systematically. The Sushruta Samhita is considered the oldest known text on plastic surgery. It describes more than 1,100 diseases and documents surgical techniques with astonishing precision. Sushruta describes rhinoplasty. He describes cataract removal. He describes surgical instruments in remarkable detail. He used wine to reduce pain and washed his hands before operating. He was doing things the Western world would not rediscover for 2,000 years. But Sushruta worked within a much larger system, Ayurveda. Ayurveda translates as the science of life. It is not just a list of cures. It is a complete philosophy of health. Ayurveda teaches that the body is governed by 3 doshas. When these are balanced, the body is healthy. When balance is disrupted, illness follows. The goal is to restore balance through diet, herbal medicine, yoga, breathwork, and lifestyle adjustment. This sounds abstract. But modern medicine is discovering that health is systemic. That gut health affects mood. That sleep affects immunity. Herbs central to Ayurveda are among the most studied natural compounds in the world. Curcumin in turmeric has demonstrated anti-inflammatory effects. Ashwagandha has shown measurable effects on stress response. These are not folk tales. Roughly 3,000 years ago, Chinese physicians began building one of the most sophisticated medical systems in history. Traditional Chinese medicine is built on a concept called qi, the vital energy that flows through the body. When qi flows freely and in balance, the body is well. When qi is blocked or disrupted, disease emerges. From this framework came acupuncture, the practice of inserting fine needles at specific points. The oldest written account appears in the Huangdi Neijing. For a long time, Western medicine looked at acupuncture and said, this cannot possibly work. But then came the research. Clinical trials demonstrated measurable physiological effects. The World Health Organization recognizes acupuncture for several conditions. Chinese herbal medicine is similarly formidable. Ginseng, ginger, astragalus, licorice root. Chinese medicine also spread. Along the Silk Road, knowledge traveled west. What started in one civilization became part of a global tradition. In 460 BCE, a man was born who would change medicine forever. His name was Hippocrates. Before Hippocrates, medicine and religion were inseparable. Hippocrates said disease has natural causes. Illness can be observed, classified, and treated through reason. This sounds obvious today. It was revolutionary then. Diet was central. Exercise mattered. Rest mattered. Fresh air mattered. He recommended willow bark for pain and fever. He understood that clean water reduced disease. The Hippocratic Oath still influences physicians today. After Hippocrates came Dioscorides. He catalogued over 600 medicinal plants. And then came Galen. His ideas dominated medicine for centuries. You might think these civilizations were completely different. They connected in the places that mattered most. Every tradition believed disease had causes. Every tradition turned to nature for medicine. And every tradition understood lifestyle mattered. We did not invent these ideas. We rediscovered them with better instruments. Ancient medicine was remarkable. Ancient life was hard. Without antibiotics, infections could be deadly. Epidemics could devastate entire cities. They got many things right. And some things catastrophically wrong. The point is not that ancient medicine was better. The point is that it was not nothing. So what did they leave us? Aspirin, at its core, is willow bark. Artemisinin comes from sweet wormwood. Many pharmaceutical drugs trace their origins to plants. Yoga is now one of the most studied therapeutic practices in the world. Meditation has been shown to alter the brain. Acupuncture is offered in hospitals around the world. The conversation between ancient healing and modern medicine is not over. The next time you reach for a medicine, a spoon of honey, or aloe vera for a burn, you are participating in a tradition older than the pyramids. You are doing what healers have done for thousands of years. We did not start from zero. We never do. Before the pharmacy, there was the forest. Before the clinic, there was the healer. And before any of our tools, there was one person refusing to leave another alone with their pain. Thank you for watching. If this kind of history moves you, subscribe and share. Which civilization's approach to medicine surprised you most? I'll see you in the next one.